Many times in life we set out to accomplish something of a rather grand nature, and failing to achieve exactly what we set out to do, we feel somewhat chagrined, almost as if we haven't really been able to achieve anything towards the goal that we aspired. And it, of course, is patently untrue. And in this week's Sedra of VaYechi, Rav Shlomo Voba, that mechanech par excellence, pointed out that when Yaakov Avinu gave the brachos to his 12 sons, he gave them in a fashion that often ultimately singled out one particular individual from the entire shevet, from the entire tribe, saying as if it were that for that individual, dayenu. For example, when he gave the bracha to Dan, ultimately the bracha is that of Lishuascha Kivisi Hashem, and he was referring solely to Shimshon Hagibor, to be granted the power ultimately to bring down the house upon his enemies. When he gave the bracha to Yosef and his two sons, Ephraim and Menashe, when he blessed Ephraim, he really had in mind Yehoshua, who was Manchel Haaretz, who was able to conquer and divide the land for the nation of Israel, and he was the Malamei Torah Yisrael, and he was a teacher of Torah to Klal Yisrael, the Gadol Hador. And when he gave the bracha to Menashe, he was thinking of ultimately the single individual Gidon who would emanate from him. And says Rav Voba, it would appear from the brachos given by Yaakov Avinu to his sons that Yaakov Avinu well understood that an entire shevet can ultimately establish its accomplishment upon the shoulders of one particular individual. And therefore, all of the work and all of the effort that as a parent, Yaakov Avinu could have placed and put into his particular son was ultimately realized by the fruition of that descendant who achieved a particular goal and a she'ifa and a longing on behalf of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And what this tells us, I believe as well, is that when we look at our children, we are to focus upon them and understand that they hold within themselves myriads of generations to follow. And if even one specific child towards the end of the line could be that Ephraim, could be that Gidon, could be that Shimshon HaGibor, well then all of the efforts and all of the trials and tribulations and all the concerns and all the worries and all the disappointments and all the tears and all the dreams of that father and mother, of all of those bubbies and zaydas who shed so many tears and who gave so many brachos on Friday night and Leilei Shabbos v'Yomim Tovim, while they have been realized through that specific individual. And I couldn't help but think to myself that maybe this is pshat in the pasuk, Vayevarach osam ish asher kivarchaso beirach osam. That Yaakov Avinu, when looking at each child, well understood and very much loved each child. We delude ourselves into thinking that Yaakov Avinu loved Yosef almost to the negation of his other children. Wasn't the case at all. He loved Yosef mikol banav, even more deeply and in a specific way, even transcending the love that he had for the others. But every child felt love. And every child at the end of the day understood that he was blessed to have such a parent. And every child at the end of the day understood that the blessing was not simply to be the son and child of such a man, but rather to appreciate that that individual, Yaakov Avinu, saw the potential of each and every child, what he could accomplish. And that potential, that potential could achieve worlds on behalf of the nation of Israel, even through the accomplishments and performance of one person down the line. Vayevarach osam ish asher kivarchaso beirach osam. Sometimes in life, we don't accomplish all that we set out to achieve, but we fail to appreciate that ultimately the actual achievement that will be credited to all of our efforts will be even far, far greater than we ever could have imagined. Have a wonderful Shabbos.